Hey, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Lakers for Monday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers and Pacers combined for nearly 300 points Sunday night, but the Lakers escape with a badly needed win. Anthony Davis and a host of people with big numbers. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one is always going to be free and never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube, so we can go hang out with over 23,000 subscribers, all of whom are wondering how two teams combined for nearly 300 points in a regulation NBA game. But that is what happened, Andy, on Sunday. Lakers and Pacers 150 to 145. The Pacers have been one of the best teams in the NBA offensively all year. The Lakers, over the last 6 weeks or so, have been one of the best offensive teams in the NBA. And good God, they put on a show on that side of the ball, and neither side put on a particularly convincing defensive show. But that's okay, because for those of us who like offense, this was a treat.
Yeah, to put in perspective just how good Indiana's been all season offensively, number one team in the league points per game, 122.8, number one overall for points in the paint, number two for offensive rating, number two for pace, number three for points off turnovers, number four for fast break points, bench scoring number one, bench 3-point percentage number three. These are all areas too, by the way, where the Lakers defensively or in terms of matching up when it comes to their own bench scoring, although tonight it was actually not an issue. These are areas where the Lakers have often got into trouble all season, but especially of late defensively. It was an interesting night for them. The fourth quarter got really hairy down the stretch.
As they will when you allow 46 points.
Yeah, it got off to a bad start, and then Indiana started making threes off what was very scrambled pick and roll defense by the Lakers. Darvin, after the game, noted how, in fairness to the team, Tyrese Halliburton had one or two that were really quite deep. And, there's a bit of a tip your cap going on, but also a bit of no, you guys, the screen and roll coverage was really bad. There was a few times in the last 40 or so seconds where Stu Lance said, I don't understand what they're doing. I don't understand it. And, Pascal Siakam, he had 36 points in this game, 27 in the second half. They had a really difficult time containing him, between him doing a really good job seeking mismatches. It's a tough cover for Rui. Siakam's very skilled. He's clever as a scorer. He's very long. And AD, I think, played defensively a lot of times very conservatively, because he had 3 fouls in the first half and he played a long time without them. Two of them came on illegal screens, I think. And I think the physicality, his own, got in his own head. It was a very overly reffed game, very choppy, without a lot of flow. And I think for a while,
the Lakers the Lakers, for to reinforce your point, went to the free throw line 43 times.
Yeah. And it felt for a while like AD in particular, especially once the Lakers had a lead in the second half, was basically playing with the idea of, I'm going to conserve, the eventual fourth foul, and then the other two, if I need them, I'm going to concede some of these baskets because I don't want to potentially get into foul trouble unwisely if we don't have to. Flip side, though, I will say, before we get into some other particulars, the Lakers did do a very good job containing Tyrese Halliburton. He had just 12 points on 5 of 13 shooting. He had 10 assists, but 4 of them came in the fourth quarter. Spencer Dinwiddie and Cam Reddish did the majority of the primary assignment guarding him. They did a really, really nice job containing him. But there were plenty of other Pacers, Miles Turner, TJ McConnell, who frankly just got loose in this game.
Well, I mean, there were a couple times, TJ McConnell, for example, was just having one of those nights. Like he is, for people who don't know, he's not a 3-point shooter. He's not a good 3-point shooter.
Just because he's a white guy doesn't mean he can do it.
Nope. He does not take 3-point shots. He does not make 3-point shots. I mean, he is technically speaking shooting well of late from 3 and 34% for the year, which for him is really good. But that's not what he does. LeBron like conceded a 3 to him, like, go ahead, take the shot. And he made it like that. It was that kind of night. The Pacers shot 50% from 3-point range, and they're a really good offensive team. Down the stretch, it was, the Lakers were making their free throws and, but they were just exchanging 3 for 2 the entire, for that last stretch, because, whether the Lakers were screwing it up, Indiana still had to make the shots, and they were. I do want to let you know, by the way, that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. You talk about some of the performances here, and if you go through the box score, as you might suspect, when the Lakers score 150 points in regulation,
without D'Angelo Russell,
D'Angelo Russell, we'll get to that in a second here. There were a lot of really good box score lines to look like it was a good night to have Lakers in your fantasy league. If you had Anthony Davis, 36 points, 16 rebounds, and a block. LeBron had 26, kind of got off to a slow start, but finished with 26 points, 10 dimes, 5 assists, 8 for 8 from the line. Austin Reeves, 25 points. He got to the line 12 times, made 11 of them. Lakers, 38 of 43 from
Austin
the free throw
was
line.
the recipient when the Pacers went actually kind of early towards the automatic fouling thing in the last, minute or so of the fourth quarter. And it kept ending up being Reeves getting fouled. I think 6 of his free throws were in the last minute. But he not to say he wasn't attacking. I'm just
saying
to add some context.
Yeah. But the story here, we've had good games from Anthony Davis, LeBron. It was good to see him bounce back as the game went along, because he was not good on Friday, and I didn't think it was particularly good early in this game. But Spencer Dinwiddie really is the story here. He started for D'Angelo Russell not available, a non-COVID illness. I do wonder, just as a side note, when we're just going to start calling people sick again, as opposed to noting specifically what they don't have. But we'll see. Dinwiddie gets the start, and we talked on Friday how that was his best game as a Laker on both sides of the ball, and how important it is for the Lakers to try to build Dinwiddie into the player that they hoped to have going into, when they picked him up as on the buyout market. And this opportunity to start with D'Lo out was, especially with the Lakers winning, I think exactly kind of what the doctor ordered to keep the momentum going and help find a groove, because in this role, it really helped him play like you kind of want Spencer Dinwiddie to play, which is going downhill, attacking the basket. He got to the line 9 times. He was hyper efficient in this game, 8 of 11, which obviously nobody does that from night to night. But he's just really aggressive and all these other things. And paired that with, obviously, like you said, some of the same high-level defense and defensive intensity that he's shown since coming to LA. Like, that part's been good. But now we're talking 2 games in a row where Dinwiddie looks a little bit more like the Dinwiddie that they hope to see. After the break, I do want to mention this, kind of talking about his overall impact, because there's something that I at least had overlooked in our conversations about Dinwiddie and how he was fitting in. And I want to get to that next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Robinhood. Do you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. So get this, Now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from another retirement account with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. And the offer's good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risks, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. You must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA is available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer.
Locked on Lakers also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. And it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. Or in Andy's case, with his car, he actually burned the car up. He needed a fire extinguisher, which they sell on eBay Motors. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So one of the things, Andy, and maybe you didn't make this mistake, but I made this mistake, and I was kind of prompted into just looking it up with some of the lineup numbers. Our friend Cranjus McBasketball from the Lakers Exceptionalism podcast was just posting some lineup numbers over the course of Sunday afternoon. And I went back and I was like, curious what this looks like. And in the 16 games since now 17, but obviously this was before tonight, in the games that Dinwiddie has played, we've spent a lot of time talking about how, like, offensively, it hasn't looked the way the Lakers hoped it would and want it to, and frankly need it to, if they're going to make kind of a run. They need Jared Vanderbilt to get healthy, and they need Spencer Dinwiddie to be an upgrade in terms of their backcourt and production and optionality and all of those things. The really good sign that I overlooked was that in the games since Dinwiddie has joined the team, nobody on the Lakers has a net rating that comes close to Dinwiddie. So his overall impact, even before he begins to score, has been really good. The Lakers, in those minutes are doing overall quite well with Dinwiddie on the floor. And again, that's without him scoring. If they can get, I'm not talking 28 points, like, that's not going to be available to him every game. But if they combine that same level of positive influence with a little bit of points, now you're really talking about something that can make a fundamental difference in what the Lakers lineup looks like.
For sure. I was aware of his net rating, and it's an interesting contrast, just in the sense that he's this guy who, in terms of the counting stats, which, he will joke, he loves scoring as much as the next guy. He was talking with Mike Trudell, sideline reporter for the Lakers, a buddy of ours, one of the hosts of Lakers Film Room podcast. And, he was talking, Mike set him up with a question of basically like, obviously you just want to be a part of winning and, like, do whatever it takes to help the team win. But, what was it like to be out there in the fourth quarter, this type of scoring explosion? Look, don't get it twisted. I like scoring. Mm-hmm. Like, Dinwiddie's made it pretty clear. I feel like I have been doing what has been asked of me, and I'm going to do whatever is asked of me. And in particular, the way he's leaned into defense, I've never watched Spencer Dinwiddie on a game in, game out basis before, but the defense he's played today, since he's become a Laker, I will say this, way better than his reputation. like his reputation is nowhere close to the defense that he's played since becoming a Laker. The issue, as somebody who's harped a lot on Dinwiddie's role, isn't that the Lakers have been bad with him on the court, but it's felt like they haven't been getting as much out of him as they need. Well, but specifically to make it easier for the other guys, I can believe that his net rating has been good when he's been on the floor, but it hasn't always felt like offensively. Defensively, obviously, he's played a role in that good net rating, but it's often felt like he's just been kind of along for the ride offensively, and that the other guys offensively have needed to play at an extremely high level in order for those metrics to surface.
Right.
And just Reeves, LeBron, especially AD, all talked after the game about it is really important that this version of Spencer Dinwiddie continues. Like, without trying to put pressure on the guy, they were like, we need this.
Put pressure on the guy. It's fine. It's okay. You're 100% right. And I pointed out, not because I was necessarily surprised at but I think there is an assumption that there could be an assumption, at least, that because the scoring hasn't been there, he also hasn't been able, like the positive impact hasn't been, like he hasn't hurt them on the floor in the slightest, his presence, with those scoring issues. And I just pointed out as like I assumed he'd be above water. I didn't realize he'd be 2 or 3 points better than anybody else on the team over that stretch. And so it's one of these things, like, the Lakers, we're in a position where we're kind of looking for things that could indicate that they could be something more than what they've been over the course of 70 games. And you want to see those signs, and, beating teams over 500 is one of them. The Lakers continue to have one of the better records in the league against the best teams in the NBA. And then there's also, there's this item with Dinwiddie. There's the possibility of maybe getting Vanderbilt back. And like, you start to line up these things and like, okay, it's not easy. And I'm not saying I'd put the college fund for the kids on it, but like, maybe there's a path for them to be something more. And if you can get Spencer Dinwiddie to play, like you say, better than his reputation is defensively and provide that offense, it is, the Lakers then have a very dynamic backcourt with both complementary but enough divergent skill sets there. One of the interesting lineup things that I saw on that, the lineup combinations with all three of those guards. I know people hate 3-guard lineups, but and net rating is not a perfect measurement. But Dinwiddie, Reeves, and Russell together were a +5. So it's like there are things here that might be available with those three guys that could make a big difference. And I that's why I wanted to point out that number.
Well, this game, he had an 18.7 usage percentage. And the game before against Philadelphia, where he played very well, it felt like, that he had 11 points. That had been his best as a Laker. And he ended up lapping that in the first quarter. He had 12 points in the first quarter against Indiana. That game, he had a 17. And other than a 17 against the Clippers early in the year, where he had 7 points and 6 assists. So it shows, just in the playmaking, that he had been more directly involved. His usage percentage, last I looked, was at 10, which is shockingly low for a scoring point guard. Like, it was lower than Jackson Hayes. I don't think that it is an accident, or, it's not too reductive to just say putting the ball in his hands more will lead to more of a better version of a player who's always had the ball in his hands. Like,
it's putting the ball in his hands. And then it's that combination of, okay, now that you've got it, like, there is that natural inclination when you're new to a team to not want to Bigfoot people. And, it was different last year. D'Angelo Russell comes to the team. Like, they just unloaded Russell Westbrook. They completely reorganized the team. There was Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and then this open space for people to fill, and everybody needed to collectively come in and fill it. And Russell was expected to be one of those guys, whereas Dinwiddie arrives to a team that is already constructed. You've got not only the two headliners, but Russell is there and Reeves is there. And there's kind of Rui is a guy who is getting more shots and all of that stuff. And, is there, let's be honest, he's there primarily as an offensive player. And I think there's no question the Lakers need to scheme to get Dinwiddie those opportunities. And then Dinwiddie is going to feel more comfortable asserting himself in those places where maybe the Lakers coaches look at the tape and go, could have gone there, could have gone there, could have gone there. It's a really encouraging sign.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit more about this, and then the fourth quarter, and also what's happening in the Western Conference right now, because in the rearview mirror, at least, some really interesting things are taking place. We'll get to it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. With over 3 million members, the easiest, most exciting way to play DFS. Just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. It's demon time now on PrizePicks. You can win up to 100 times your money. With as little as 4 correct picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000. Demons and Goblins are the newest and most exciting way to play at PrizePicks. Squares marked with red demons or green goblins can get you different payouts. And PrizePicks offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide you even more value. They also offer Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this basketball season. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
I just saw, Andy, I people, I don't think I actually said the number, and I believe this is now actually updated through Sunday's game. Dinwiddie's a net rating of 8.5 over his games. Offensive rating 124, defensive rating 115. So 115 obviously pretty high, but not on this team it isn't. So
speaking, I don't want to bury the lead. Speaking of big numbers on the plus side versus the minus side, the Lakers, you've heard me talk about this all season, especially over the last few months. The Lakers are no longer the only team in the NBA with a winning record and a negative point differential as of this day, March 24th, in the year of our Lord 2024. The Lakers are sitting on a robust 0.1 plus 0.1 point differential. You did it. You did it. You did it.
So as it always is, you got to sort of stop and take a look at the standings. The Lakers winning this game helps them keep pace with what's going on with the teams that are ahead of them. They remain 3 games behind Dallas in the loss column. That is functionally 4 games because they have to pass Dallas for the 8th seed. They are 3 games behind Sacramento in the loss column. That is also 4 functionally. They are 3 games behind Phoenix. That is a legitimate 3 because the Lakers do hold the tiebreaker over the Suns. The real action, Andy, though, is on the other side, because in the rearview mirror, the Golden State Warriors lost to Minnesota on Sunday. They are now 2 games behind the Lakers in the loss column in that 9-10 battle. Which, look, I don't think the Lakers are going to win 2 road games to get through the play-in section of the Western Conference. I just don't. I do think they can win 1. So playing at least a game on their home floor is monumentally important. And the Lakers are putting themselves much more in a position to be able to do that. But the other part of this is the folks over at Locked On Warriors, I suspect, are getting a little bit nervous because the Warriors now are only a game up on the white-hot Houston Rockets, who continue to win. They have won 8 in a row. And they're now only a game back of the Warriors, who are slumping. I wouldn't want to be trying to hold off a team that's playing that well. The Rockets now are at 500. I'd be slightly nervous about playing a team in the play-in if the Rockets continue to win at this level. And they've played the Lakers well this year. So interesting stuff happening behind the Lakers, but at least they are settling into a place where if they continue to win, at worst, they'll be the 9, which is better than the 10.
Here's the other thing, though. If they keep winning, and obviously this is an if, and they are running out of time, it would be nice to have a little more runway, but go over to Tankathon. Phoenix now number 1 for most difficult remaining strength of schedule. Their opponents have a winning percentage of just under 61%.
Their final 10 games are insane.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
I'm gonna read them because it's just fun. So they have one more game against the Spurs. That's Monday. Then they go Denver, at OKC, at New Orleans, at home against Cleveland, which, depending on if Donovan Mitchell plays, like one, we'll see. But in theory, that's a difficult game. At home against the Wolves, at home against the Pelicans, at home against the Clippers. That actually looks like more of a gimme now. Clippers have been terrible. And then so it's a back-to-back home and home with the Clippers. Then the Sun. Then they're at the Kings, and they finish the season of the Timberwolves. So if the Clippers get their bleep together before then, the easiest game on that is maybe the Cavs game, but it's not easy at all if Donovan Mitchell's in the lineup. So like, that is brutal. Those are elite teams. Like, the worst team record-wise in that group is Sacramento.
Yeah. And
like that's a thing.
And for their part, Sacramento now 3rd hardest remaining strength of schedule. Like, those are the 2 teams the Lakers have to pass, have to move past them in the standings in order to try to get to the 8th seed. Again, it is going to be very difficult. And if you had to bet money on it, the smart bet, if you're just playing the odds, you would play the odds for the Lakers not being able to do it. But the Lakers' remaining strength of schedule is considerably easier. Considerably easier. They're currently ranked 21st. And if they can handle their own business moving forward, again, other teams need to cooperate, but 2 of the teams that they have to pass have a really hard road ahead of them. I don't know off the top of my head how many times Phoenix and Sacramento play each other. Just the one, I think. Just the one? Okay, well, that is good. That is useful.
The games, assuming I didn't miss it in the games I just read out.
Right.
But it's the opportunity could be there. It might not be there. But what I really like about the Lakers schedules, it's a good mix of, Tuesdays in Milwaukee. Like, that's a difficult game. The Bucks are kind of quietly turning it around a little bit after, Doc Rivers became a just high volume meme producer like going into the All-Star break. They've been much better, but the Lakers did beat them, at the Crypt recently. And then they go, back to back into Memphis. Indiana on the road is not an easy game, but obviously they can beat the Pacers. But you have Brooklyn, you have Toronto, you have Washington. Who knows what Cleveland's going to be? It's like they have an opportunity to play well and just put some wins together and put themselves in the best position possible from like a confidence standpoint, to feel like, okay, this season was not what we wanted it to be. It was not what it needed to be. We needed it to be better and all of these things. But right now, this is the best version of ourselves. Like, we feel good about where we are. And they have a schedule that allows them to play Brooklyn, a team that's fading fast, or Toronto, teams that are fading fast, where you can kind of work on some things and sharpen up a little bit, but enough good tests too, to kind of not fall into that security. Lakers have been playing better against the best teams anyway. So I'm encouraged, at least, by what they have in front of them.
Yeah. For what it's worth too. And again, this is clearly down the road because it's the last game of the season for the Lakers. But the Pelicans could theoretically be, that's their last game, locked into their seed one way or the other and just decide to give guys a rest. Brandon Ingram's currently injured, so they may not want to play him if they don't have to. Again, everything is so tight in the West that is hard to bank on. But of all the seeds out there, New Orleans looks like one of the potentially most locked or least fluid, depending on how you want to look at this.
Right. I mean, I think we'll see what happens with the Clippers, who again
Right.
they've just been really bad.
Right.
Lost again on Sunday.
It might be actually, I know this is sometimes difficult for Laker fans to do, might be in your best interest to root for the Clippers, just start winning so the Pelicans can't catch them.
Or for the Clippers to keep losing so much that the Pelicans can pass them clean, and then they're the 4 and the Clippers are the 5 or something like that. That's really what we're talking about here is the 4-5, which is obviously a huge deal. So you want the Pelicans to be locked into one or the other. So we'll keeping an eye on the standings, on what's going on with things like that. We'll get you ready for the road trip. The Lakers, I just mentioned, heading out on the road, starting in Milwaukee on Tuesday. That's Milwaukee, Memphis, Indiana, Brooklyn, Toronto, Washington. So some very winnable games, even with a pair of back-to-backs on this trip. They are giving you just enough reason to believe. That's kind of what they do.
We didn't really focus, say, really enough, one could argue. Anthony Davis had 36 and 16 in this game. And this was not against a front court of physicality in the way of like a Jokic or Sabonis or, Yusef Nurkic, but you're still talking about Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam.
Yeah, Miles Turner does not suck.
Right. Well, but also too, he is a defensive presence.
Right. Like, I'm saying he's a good player. That's what I'm getting at.
And he managed to, despite even, I think, for the first 2 quarters and change being, it looked to me very hyper aware of what's a foul. Like, is this a foul? I don't want to pick up my 4th. He still managed to have 36 and 13 in this game. Like that is, it's a hell of a night for Anthony Davis.
It looked good. I like this game. I'm not one of these people who, 150 to 145, we could use a little more defense than that, but like, I'm not one of these people who like looks back fondly at the late 90s when you go into the 4th quarter of a game and it's 86 to 81. That was my huge takeaway from the Jordan documentary. Is every Jordan, the clutch bucket for the Bulls, and now they go, they win game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals 74 to 69. Like, I don't need that. I didn't like watching
highest Laker point total since 1987.
And as Michael Thompson pointed out in the post game, the only difference is in that game they shot 4 threes, I think is what he said.
Well,
I don't know exactly how many they shot. I think he might have said 8, but either number is believable, just given the era. Anyway, Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to hang out, talk to over 23,000 subscribers. Leave us questions, leave us comments. We'll definitely use those as much as we possibly can on the shows. We've got some guests coming on over the next week, different voices that we're going to get involved. And so let us know other people that you want to hear from as well. If there are people that you would like to see on the show, we will work to get them for you. And so we'll see everybody tomorrow.